Welcome to Cluedunnit, the podcast where we make wild guesses about fake TV crimes.
And discover real facts about the amazing people who brought the shows to life. I'm Jessica, IMDb maven, and the person who reads everything in a theater program.
And I'm Jacob, writer, producer, and senior lead detective, Logic Cop Investigations.
Whoop, whoop.
Each week, we watch a show and try to immediately guess whodunit, without any clues, context, or apparently accuracy.
Then we spoil everything. We not only tell you who did it, but also who made it. All right, let's find out.
Who was right?
Who was wrong?
And who is dead? How do we want to just zoom into this here?
Like that. Yeah, zoom.
Just
we're
bang,
in.
zoom, we're in?
Yes.
Okay, bang, zoom, we're in.
All right.
Okay. I don't know why I had to make that so difficult. There we go. Well, this is it. This is a new episode then. We're not revisiting because you haven't heard it, but one of our practice episodes, we watched Frankie Drake Mysteries.
Yes.
And it was a lot of fun. And so we wanted to do it for the actual show here. Tell us about Frankie Drake Mysteries, Jessica. What is it?
Okay, well, it's a series that follows Frankie Drake, a female private detective operating in Toronto in the 1920s.
Right, when Toronto was still a mill town, and there was all sorts of... Was it a mill town?
I don't remember a mill.
There was a lot of building, and there was also a lot of factory work happening.
Yes, yeah.
There's also a very big... I'm not sure if this is the correct way to say it anymore, but there was also a big, quote-unquote, Chinatown. Prohibition actually happened in Canada for a little bit, too, but Chinatown was where you could go, and you can get a drink. What do they call it? They called it cold tea?
Oh, I can't remember now.
Yeah, like you could get hot tea
today.
True, you could get hot tea or you could get cold tea, and cold tea was whiskey. But there's Frankie Drake. Frankie Drake is Toronto's... Frankie drank. Jacob drank before this podcast episode started, apparently. Frankie Drake is Toronto's first female private detective. She was a spy during World War I, and she came back and she wasn't happy just going back and being a housewife or what other domestic role would be hers.
Her father, he was a baddie. He was kind of a con man, right?
Yeah,
her
mother and her father were both con men.
Like, everybody was kind of like, oh, he's a lovable scamp, but man, the guy's a con man. I don't know if that's going to figure in this episode at all, but it's just interesting backstory on our character and the troubles that she sometimes has when she's trying to get information from people in political places or at the police department, because they're like, yeah, girl,
you don't come from such a good line.
Yeah.
And her mother is still around. Like, her mother makes life difficult for her every now and then. But her partner, so who is her partner?
So her partner is Trudie Clark, played by Chantal Riley. Mm-hmm. She is Frankie's partner and friend.
It's important to note that her partner is a woman of color.
Yeah.
So, 1920s, a woman owning her own business, let alone her partner being a woman of color, is a big deal. And they don't make a big deal of it, but every now and then they have to remind people that Trudie is not her assistant. She is not her helper.
Yes.
She is not her maid. No. This is my partner. And they're not ashamed of it. They don't hide it. But it's just very much like, nope, let me correct you. She's my partner.
Yeah.
So those are the two private detectives, but like any other private detective show, you've got to have somebody on the inside of the police who is their person on the police squad.
And these other two folks are considered the four main leads, actually.
Right, yes.
Mary Shaw is a morality officer in Toronto's police force who often helps Frankie with her cases, and that's played by Rebecca Lydiard.
And morality officers, we had to look this up when we did this. A morality officer literally was someone who would make sure that, A, there were no women who were walking around unchaperoned. Because if you were an unchaperoned woman, you could very often be a prostitute. So they were helping morality, trying to keep the streetwalkers off, trying to make sure the seamstresses were actually, seamstresses. But they would also do things like check skirt lengths. You will hear people on the police force make fun of her as someone who's just only good for checking the length of people's skirts, but she really does want to be a police officer, but she can't because, again, 1920s.
Yeah. And she really does do a lot of... One of the things, the tropes of the show is that being a woman is frustrating sometimes, but other times it allows them into places and it allows them to find out information that they wouldn't normally have because they can just be, because they're written off and ignored by people.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
They get to just sort of blend in with
Right.
the scenery, and the men don't notice that, or the women like of high society or whatever just don't even notice that they're there collecting information, listening, hearing details.
Right, they're kind of invisible in that way.
Yeah, and they're invisible, looking at the books, looking at the the stuff in the police force, looking through details and pictures and taking files and just being like, oh, I kind of need this.
I'll bring this right back.
Yeah, and everyone's like, what? Oh, I'm busy.
I'm busy. You do your womanly things.
Yeah.
It clearly has nothing bearing on me.
Yeah. The fourth character is...
I want to pause for a second. I want to pause for a second, and I want to let our listeners guess who their fourth character might have to be. So we've got the private detectives. We've got the police person. What does the fourth person have to be? Jessica, tell us.
She is a morgue attendant.
There
She
you go.
is our coroner. She's the one who has like all the information, and she's willing to give it to them.
Yeah, and she put
works
herself
for
through
them.
school. Like
Yes.
she came, like her husband died in World War I, and she put herself through all the schooling and all the training in order to become this morgue attendant. And she is a hoot. I love her to death. She's a plus size lady. She's not afraid of that. There's one episode where she's walking along the bank of this lake, and she's just eating this like hoagie sandwich, talking about finding a dead body floating in the water. She's fantastic, and I love her.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's played by Sharon Matthews, and yeah, she provides information to Frankie. You go. Yeah,
And I'm sad to say, in the first season, there was a recurring character of Ernest Hemingway,
yes,
who did actually spend some time in Toronto. Hated it, but he was a journalist in Toronto for a little bit, and he and Frankie were always kind of sparring over, how do you get these stories? Why are you showing up all these places? But I think, according to what I've read, he was only there for season 1, so I don't think we'll see him this
Oh, yeah,
episode.
I don't think so either.
But what episode are we doing?
And there are a number of recurring characters
Oh, please, tell us.
Who are in this episode, including Grace Lynn Kong. Plays Wendy Kong, the owner of Kong's Cafe, which is a speakeasy in the ward that is frequented by the main cast.
Gotcha.
Sometimes less Mary Shaw, because she is a morality officer.
Right.
And not really supposed to be drinking.
Yes, but she does.
But she does.
Because we're only human.
Yep. You got to enjoy life.
Responsibly,
yes.
people, and not while driving.
Yeah. For anybody who's not familiar, this is considered a crime drama mystery. I think there should be like a little comedy tag to this, because it's a little
it's
light.
a light. It's definitely light. We need to come up with a bingo card.
Yes.
We need to come up with a bingo card where it's just like mystery, procedural, horror, like all the things. So tell me what these things were.
There have been 41 episodes so far, 4 seasons, and the pilot premiered in Canada, not in the US, but in Canada on November 6th, 2017, and it premiered later in the US, like I think 2018 or maybe even 19. It was really late to coming to the US. We are watching it on PBS, and we are watching tonight season 2, episode 9, which is called Dealer's Choice.
Ooh.
Frankie and Trudie get hired as drinks, waitress, and croupier at Bess Starkman's illegal casino, which has been robbed. Then Frankie gets accused of murder.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got robbery and murder happening here.
Yes.
And we also want to say they just finished up their 4th season, and they have like a whole
The whole episode, yeah, about the Spanish flu, and they investigate that. And I'm so regretting that I asked Siri to pick our episode, because I totally would have done that one.
Maybe in a bonus episode later on.
Yeah.
But there we go. So that's what we're doing. So the log line, Frankie Drake and her crew have to investigate some robberies happening at an illegal
Frankie
casino.
and Trudie, yeah.
Frankie and Trudie and the crew. And then Frankie gets accused of murder.
Yeah.
All right. Let's dive in.
Okay.
Here's the thing, people. We just came from a highly sensitive phone call with the New York head officiating office. We had to call the refs.
In, the world of podcasting, contests.
We contacted the podcasting contests oversight committee based in New York City.
And they have a special mystery shows committee.
The mystery division. Yeah, the mystery division. It gets a little hard sometimes because sometimes it's like mystery, comedy, romance, action, like which department do you go to?
Right.
But we've been through this enough times that they just send us right to the mysteries.
Yeah, because for a long time they just sent us right to the true crime, true mystery,
right,
true murders, and we were like, but we're not doing true crime. We're fake crime.
Yeah, they finally got through to us though. But I mean, bless them. The work that the podcasting oversight committee does is just amazing work.
Yeah, so. I mean, because we were getting in trouble in the early days because they were like, that's not real. You're saying things that are not real.
And we were like, that's the point.
Yeah, and we were like, yeah,
that's the whole thing.
They had a real hard time.
They had a really hard time with it, but they figured it out. They figured out where we fit, and thank God they figured it out because we bless them. Yes, because we have had. I'm telling you, I did not think that Frankie Drake was going to be such a controversial episode, but there you go. It's been a mess. I mean, I should have known we were getting into trouble when it was just a normal mystery and not a murder.
But it's not. There's a murder.
But the murder doesn't take place until 20 minutes into the episode.
But there's still a murder.
It does say in the totally made up rules that we can't point to anywhere that, yes, you get to watch till the end of the teaser or until there's a body. So, I mean, yes, I guess we just watched until there was a dead body.
Yeah.
It just so happens that it was 20 minutes in. Now, don't get me wrong. You have pointed out, rightfully, I might add, that in the Prime Suspect episode with our favorite leading lady,
Dame fucking Helen Mirren.
Kind of, yeah. But
Dame Helen fucking Mirren. It's her middle name.
In any event, it's 20 minutes into that episode before we paused and guessed. Of course, or more. But the whole point about that is that like that episode is like 3 hours long for one minute.
Sure.
In any event, due to some crack officiating at the podcast oversight committee, we have determined that even though we have watched 21 minutes out of a 42-minute episode, we still don't know anything. There is a body. We're well within the rules. We can do some guessing.
Great.
There you go.
I'm so excited. Now, side note, do you think that they use those little black boxes that they do
like they go
football,
and like they have to go in and look at the fabric over their heads and like look it up.
And yeah, like a viewfinder.
Maybe they do. It's so mysterious, people. Like you don't really hear from the podcast oversight committee until you've had at least 7 episodes. This is the thing. You don't know about it because most podcasts stop after 6 episodes. But once you hit that 7th, that is a true fact.
That is fact.
So once you get to that 7th episode, the podcast oversight committee is like, great, now that you're here, they overnighted us our badges.
Thank goodness it wasn't a cease and desist.
Right? No. It's our official podcast badges. So when we flash you the podcast badges, that's how you know that we're official podcasters.
But we had to send them back, right? Because they said, remember, it said true crime. And
you're right.
No,
you're right. So we are waiting on the fake crime badges. You're right about that. But we're told that the badges are on their way.
Yeah.
So what we should do then is tell you what's going on.
Yep.
So that you can also
tell us the first 20 minutes of the show.
Tell us the first 20 minutes of the show. I love this show because, like you said, it's not a comedy, but it could be a comedy. Everything is just so fun. The first thing is this guy comes in and gives them hundreds of dollars, like a ridiculous amount of money, to find a very important pocket watch that he lost. And folks, I'm here to tell you, they start talking about how, did you lose it over on 12th Street? Well, that belongs to the street urchin gang.
Yeah.
Anytime you get to say that that's street urchin territory, you're in for a good ride. That's my thing. Like there needs to be, bring back the urchin. Bring back the urchin.
Oh no, Jacob, that was such a terrible time.
They go bust up these 2 street urchins, and these 2 street urchins are like, no, you don't want us. You want the person who's in charge of all of us.
Our Fagin.
Are we allowed to say our fence? We don't need to get into the whole anti-Semitism of Victorian England.
Gotcha.
In any event, they go to his fence. They go to the urchin's fence. The fence is like, well, I sold it to this guy. So then they go to that guy's house. And they're like, okay, fine. I lost it gambling at this casino. They go to the casino. The casino is run by a lady named Bess Starkman, who we met a couple episodes earlier, she was in charge of a great big gambling ring around the baseball championship. So there's been bad blood between Frankie and Bessie because Frankie ruined this whole thing that Bessie had going on. Thousands upon thousands of dollars was lost. So the fact that Bessie's even like talking to them and not just killing them straight up is a miracle.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. She's dirty. So they go to Bessie Starkman's casino/speakeasy.
And Bessie Starkman is not going to give it back to them. At first, they think it's just because she's angry with them. But then she confides in them that she can't give it back to them, even when they threaten to call the cops.
She can't give the watch back.
She can't give the watch back to them, even though they threatened the cops because they got robbed. Bessie's casino got robbed the night before and everything got taken. And so what they decide to do is they decide to help each other out. If Frankie can find out who robbed Bessie, then Bessie gets the money back and Frankie gets to keep the watch. So guess what? They're going undercover at a casino. There's a great little moment where they like show them getting into costumes for the casino. It's very cute. Anyway, so yes, they get dolled up for their first shift. Marty and Flo are going to go and check out the pawn shops to see who...
Mary. Did
I
they
said
call
Marty?
Her? You did.
Oh dear, no, I meant
call
Mary.
Her yeah, Mary and Flo. Yeah, Mary and Flo are standing there as they're getting dressed up, and they are going to go to the pawn shops and try to find the watch because somebody probably sold it.
They stole it and then they sold it. Okay. After they get that whole plan worked out, Frankie and Trudie go back to the casino where they are taught how to deal and taught how to serve liquor, as if they didn't know this. And they meet the head of security, Vernon, and then they get to work. Trudie starts dealing out to two gamblers at the blackjack table, and one of them, and they keep talking back and forth about Muldoon's Grill or Muldoon's Saloon. I'm not sure which. I think it's Muldoon's something or other. Anyways, Muldoon's is the name. One's a waiter. One says he helped the guy come up with the name for Muldoon's, but they're talking back and forth. Meanwhile, Frankie is trying to hand out drinks to people. She gets slapped on the backside by a guy named Charles Kanaski. Kanaski. Charles Kanaski, and she's ready to turn around and slap him back, but Bessie's like, oh no. Charles Kanaski is one of my best customers. He does the slapping. You don't slap him. So Frankie bites her tongue, and Charles is like, you got moxie, kid. I like you. Why don't you, when you're ready to move up in the world, why don't you come work for me? And she's like, yeah, right, whatever, loser. Anyways, so they keep going on and serving people.
I would say that more than loser, because he's a very successful man. He has lots of businesses. As he says, he has a lot of fingers in lots of pies.
Yes, he has fingers in a lot of pies, yeah.
And he gives her his card, and he doesn't give it to her. He puts it in her dress.
Yes.
Gross. And she makes a motion as if she threw it onto the ground afterwards, after he walks away. And I was kind of thinking as we were watching this person's card you probably want to hold on to, because he has a speaking role and is clearly a suspect.
No. He spoke to you. He's clearly going to be important. Come on, Frankie. Everybody knows that.
Yes.
So while they're working there, though, Flo and Mary go. They find the watch in a pawn shop. They do a little strong arm the lady at the front of the pawn shop to make her sell it to them. And they find out that their inscription in the watch is Chinese. The lady at the pawn shop won't tell them who sold it to her. So they take the watch and they say they'll come back tomorrow to find out who sold it to them. So, meanwhile, back at the casino, Frankie is talking to the bartender. He's kind of skeezy. He tells her to go to the back and get some gin. As she's gone, the place gets robbed again. People show up wearing masks. And the masks, by the way, pandemic trigger warning, the masks look like those medieval Renaissance doctor masks with the long bird beak in front of them.
And Frankie and Trudie try to knock the people out.
Well, before they even knock the people out,
true.
Frankie stands up to them and she's like, you're not going to do it tonight, mister. And he's like, what? And he tries to shoot her. But there's no bullets in the gun. So there's a fight, but they can't stop the guys. The guys escape.
And for 1 second, she holds up all the bullets.
Right. She's like,
nobody seems to have
bullets.
seen that, but she did do that in the shot that we saw.
Yep. So they get into a fight. The guys still manage somehow to escape because the head of security was out dealing with something else. Bessie doesn't know what's happening, so Frankie and Trudie walk her through it. And what essentially happens is that when Frankie was going to the back to get more gin, she noticed that there was an employee bathroom, and the employee locker rooms there were some guns and masks in one of the lockers. So she knew it had to be somebody on the inside bringing the guns in and somebody on the inside putting them there.
Because they aren't being checked by security.
Right, because employees aren't checked by security. So she took all the bullets out of the gun, which is how she was able to stand up to them, which also means that they have a mole in there, which upsets Bessie. What they realize, though, is that the head of security has been distracted every time that the robbers have come in. So they confront the head of security, Vernon, and they say, "You're in on this. You gotta help us out." And he's like, if I tell you anything, I'm dead. So Frankie's like, "You just tell us when and where you're supposed to pick up the stuff. We'll take care of it from there." So the head of security is like, "Great, you come with me. I'll show it to you." Meanwhile, Mary and Flo have taken the watch to, I believe it's Mrs. Kwan's tea house, in quotes, tea house, to get the inscription read. And the inscription reads, "Heart reduced to ashes, remember water lily." They don't know what it means, but they figure out that maybe there's a place where there's water lilies that they're going to go, so they leave to go check that out.
And she seems to suggest Ms. Kwan seems to suggest when she's reading the characters, and this might be a throwaway line because they're like, "Why would he have something in Chinese? What, with Chinese characters?" And she's like, "I have a British necklace and an Italian hairdresser."
So why not? Trudie is back at the casino going to start doing some dealing, and she sees a matchbook from the Muldoon's people. And she's like, "Wait a minute. These Muldoon's people created the distraction with the head of security, and they've been here. Maybe it's these guys are behind it as well." She goes to talk to the floor boss, Ronnie, and Ronnie's like, "What are you talking about? They're great. They're fine. Leave them alone. Don't think about it." She goes back to dealing. Frankie goes with Vernon to go to the drop, and as he is approaching the drop, someone hits her from behind. She gets knocked out. She's woken up. Bessie is shaking her awake. Vernon is dead. The cops are at the doorstep. Bessie knocks the cop out, and they run. So there's a dead body. Vernon, head of security, very sad. There's a dead body. She's been framed for a murder. There's robbers that they have to catch. We're halfway through. I'm feeling guilty about the guesses, but we still don't know anything anyway, so we're going to do some guessing. We were approved by the podcast oversight committee. Here we go. Jessica Hurd, tell me what you got.
So those they seem like our suspects, and it seems like, it's her name, what's her name, the casino owner? Bessie. Seems like she's running this establishment, so we don't think she's actually done anything wrong.
Well, I mean, other than doing all the illegal things herself, but yes.
But somehow she ended up in this warehouse with the dead guy.
How she ended up in the warehouse waking up Frankie. That is a very good question.
Yeah. Because I sort of feel like she's a suspect in her own robbery. Like there's something else that they're not being told. Maybe. You
think she's setting all of this up just to like keep all the money from everybody else maybe and somehow gain more money for herself?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, she certainly seemed kind of like that in the last
She was definitely in the last episode we saw of her. She was definitely like very cutthroat and frankly a lot scarier than she is in this episode.
Yeah. And now she just seems like a woman with a business.
Yeah, now she just seems like another broad out there to make a buck in the changing times.
Yeah. Which is
totally fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
Businesswoman.
Yeah.
But yeah, she seemed like a killer. On the other hand, she was trying to get Frankie Drake out of there. But on the other hand, we know from the log line that Frankie is going to get framed for this murder.
Yeah, I think she was. I think that's what happened there. I think she just got framed for it. Like the cops saw her there.
But did Bessie frame her?
I don't think so. Because otherwise Bessie wouldn't have gotten her out of it. You know what I mean? Bessie wouldn't have knocked out the cop and then dragged her out of there. She would have just let her take the rap.
Oh, yeah, you're right. She did tell her to run.
Yeah.
Run. Okay. I am going to take a wild guess.
Please do. I encourage it.
And I was a big fan of the Perry Mason reboot.
Right,
that
you
happened this pandemic. And the young guy who is the father of the baby, he turns out to have been the illegitimate son of this big businessman.
Oh, yeah.
In town. And that actor kind of reminded me of him. So I'm going to go for just a ridiculous relational thing, right? I'm going to say that he is actually, even though we have no clues, an illegitimate son of the Canasta guy.
Canasta guy, sure, yeah.
Canasky guy. And
I like Canasta better, for the record.
I know. I think it's close for a reason.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be at a gambling establishment.
Oh, I can see that. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and they mentioned that Trudie is so good at cards
Oh, was it Canasta?
Yeah, because she played Canasta.
Oh my lord, that is hilarious. If they were doing
Canasta.
that, kudos.
I mean,
Yeah,
writers
Canasta,
and their
Kanaski,
names.
absolutely.
So I think he's illegitimate son of that guy. And I think he's got a big mouth on him because I don't think he actually worked at Muldoon's. I think he was telling the guy who worked at Muldoon's that they should change the name of the restaurant.
Yeah, it was his idea for him to call it Muldoon's as opposed to Gordon's Grub or something like that. I don't think he was bragging to the guy who worked there that it was his idea, that he told the guy
to change it to the grill.
grill.
Okay, no, here's what's happening. Okay. Right? He is the illegitimate son of Canasta. Okay. But he cannot prove it. But this watch proves it. And it was and the other guy that was paying them loads that's paying Frankie and Trudie tons of money to get the watch back is wanting to prove that he is the legitimate son, or he wants to keep this watch, which proves that this other son is the legitimate son. But if the other loudmouth guy with all the grill vision and whatever, if the watch comes into his possession, then his father will be really upset and he will lose his fortune or
so we've got Canasta.
Whatever. Yeah,
and then we've got the first guy who's looking for the watch.
Yeah.
And we think the first guy who's looking for the watch is Canasta's legitimate son.
Yeah. Or he's at least posing right now, or seems to have been at least a legitimate son.
Right. But he's posing in order to get this watch back so that the illegitimate son cannot prove that he is in fact related to Canasta at all.
Yeah.
So it's all a feint from Canasta to make sure that his bastard seed isn't recognized.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
So ultimately Canasta's behind it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And the weighing of the watch is just this unfortunate bystander thing that is happening on the periphery, and it's like Kanaski doesn't understand what's going on with the watch. Like, he's just robbing and has his fingers in lots of pies. Meanwhile, this drama between these two son figures is happening in the shadows around him.
Yeah, the watch got picked up in the raid, but the first guy who wants the watch back knows that it's a meaningful watch.
Right.
And that it will prove something to his father about his legitimacy, or that the others. That is my guess. Oh! Okay.
Keep it coming.
Kanaski,
right?
Like you said, fingers and lots of pies. When Flo and Mary went to the pawn shop,
yeah,
the pawn shop lady, who was not the pawn shop owner, she was just the worker, and they said, "Well, we want to talk to the owner," and she was like, "Well, he's not in." I mean, obviously, she was there.
Sure,
he was not in. He is Kanaski. He has fingers and lots of pies, including pawn shops, and so he did the robbery of Bessie's place, stole all the stuff, and is having it sold at his pawn shop.
Interesting.
And he didn't realize that this meaningful watch, which should be meaningful to him or meaningful to his legitimate or illegitimate son, was part of the property. He just got, it was all stolen shit. It was put into a bag or a box, and then he just turned it over to her to put it out there. That's my guess.
I dig it. I am focusing on the bartender. I am focusing on the pit boss. Mm-hmm. And obviously the Muldoon's folks are involved in it somehow. Mm. They're probably the robbers themselves, but I don't think that they're the ones who are behind it all. There's so much muddy water going around here. Who knows what this actually is? I would love it if the urchins came back and the urchins were behind it all. And they're like, look, how do you think we're going to afford college? Huh? You think we're going to be able to do this by stealing things? No, we need a big haul.
Yeah.
I'm stalling. Can you tell I'm stalling? Do I want to go with Kanaski as well? I think I am. I think I'm going to go with Kanaski as well. I wish I could figure out how I think the watch fits into this. Because I think this is the thing. Like, if Kanaski owned the pawn shop, like, Kanaski wouldn't steal everything and then sell everything at his own pawn shop. Like, that's just not how fences work. The whole thing is that you steal it and then you have to give it to somebody else who doesn't know anything about it. He is the only one who has actually been, like, incredibly, not just rude, but physically inappropriate with the ladies. You know what I mean? Kanaski's the only one who's like, he slapped her tush. You know what I mean? So I think it's Kanaski. I think the guy in the park who's selling stuff for the street urchins, I think he is actually the one who owns the pawn shop. I think he's got two he's got two side deals going on there. But I do think it's Kanaski. Because I think Kanaski is trying to put Bessie down a peg or two. I bet that Kanaski is also serving Ms. Kwan things as well. Like, maybe he's importing the liquor and everything. So I think he is trying to get Bessie shut down because he either wants to take it over or he wants everybody to go to Ms. Kwan's or something like that. But I think it's Kanaski. I'm going to also say I think the street urchins are coming back. I hope they're coming back. I hope they come back for they do some kind of like sting operation using the street urchins in it. And if they do, I think we both get a point. and the viewers get a point too. Everybody gets a point. If the street urchins come back, everybody gets a point. And I'd like to also thank the Podcast Oversight Committee for allowing us to continue with the episode.
Thank you, folks. We really appreciate it.
It was touch and go there for a second, but I'm glad I'm glad they saw the interest in the game and let us continue with it. So
tweet, game on,
game on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to take a brief pause here while Jessica readies herself for the ceremonial viewing. And this is just between you and me. And I mean, Jessica's right there, so she hears it too. But between you and me, I just want to say that I'm going to change my guess. I now believe that Sean Murphy, in fact, is the man behind everything. Sean Murphy was the man who started this all in action when he asked Frankie Drake and Trudie to get the watch back for him. So I think it's him. This is all a setup. He is trying to muscle in on Kanaski's territory, and this is just a way to get Frankie involved in that whole gang and bring him down. So yeah, I think the great big switcheroo double cross is going to be that Sean Murphy is the one behind this all. So changing my guess, we'll see if it burns me.
What's happening here? I threw a flag.
It's okay. It's okay. No. The Podcast Oversight Committee said it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine.
All right, we're back. And I was calling foul, man. I was gonna call the
Podcast Oversight Committee.
Yeah, the Oversight Committee, and I was gonna say he's done it again.
Again? What do you mean again? That was the first time. Like, you had 3 guesses.
Three guesses?
Yeah, you were like, oh, and this. Oh, and this.
No, I mean, isn't that kind of a thing? Like,
you're allowed to keep guessing. You are allowed to keep guessing, which is why you are allowed to keep guessing. Exactly. No, you are totally allowed. Which is why I came in and changed my guess and thought out loud some more.
All right, fine.
Gentle listener, you should know that she's protesting like this just to make sure that I still lose.
Yes, tell them all about it. What happened in the final 22 minutes?
Well, I'll tell them all about this, but first I have to say that, yes, I changed my guess, and Jessica was right. It was Charles Kanaski. He was a major bad guy behind it all.
Not in any way that I thought.
Right. I mean, we had the whys and the wherefores all completely wrong. Yeah. So it's a good thing we are not 1920s private investigators in Toronto.
Exactly.
But nevertheless, we still would have gotten our guy.
Yeah.
Well, you would have gotten your guy. I would have.
I had no proof, though.
You would have had no proof, and I would have fingered some besotted lover who just wanted his watch back to remind him of the girl that he lost. Yeah. It's very sad, both the loss and the fact that he lost his girl. So yes, Jessica won. Congratulations, Jessica. Ticker tape parade tomorrow morning, early. Sorry.
They always make them so early in the morning because they don't want to disrupt traffic.
Don't disrupt traffic. Anyways, but yes, how did we get there? When last we left our crew, Bessie was waking up Frankie Drake and then assaulting a policeman who had found Frankie Drake next to a dead body. Trudie was back at Frankie Drake's office being very nervous about them all. Side note on this, Trudie's sleeves in this whole episode were fire.
Yeah.
They were super duper great. Like,
Yeah.
she had some amazing costuming happening with her. Like, when she's learning how to deal, she's got these like long cut sleeves with the cuffs and they're like going all around her, and then she had some like swoopy sleeves when she's like going around their office being all worried about Frankie Drake. It's great. Anyways, so yes, Bessie and Frankie go back to the office and try to figure out what the heck happened. They don't know. They just know they need a safe house. So they go to Ms. Kwan's casino and bar. Ms. Kwan hides them up. But just as she agrees to do it, Detective Grayson shows up. And he's all like, well, you know, she's wanted by the police and she's messed up with Bessie. Bessie is bad news. This is horrible. You wouldn't hide them from me. And of course, Trudie and Ms. Kwan are just like, no, what are you thinking about? Of course we wouldn't do that. Meanwhile, though, as Bessie and Frankie are holed up in this little cubbyhole, Detective Grayson sows discord between Bessie and Frankie, talking about how Bessie can't be trusted and this is no good, and Bessie is losing her mind. She pulls out a gun. She's like, they're never going to take me alive. And the tensions get high, but Grayson can't find them, so he leaves, and Bessie and Frankie come out, and they don't know what to do. They're just going to have to stay there overnight. Trudie goes to check out the waiter, but he doesn't have a shiner, so it wasn't him. But meanwhile, Trudie goes and talks to Flo, and Flo does have another clue. For some reason, don't ask why, Vernon, the head of security, now dead, had a phone number on a piece of paper in his sock. So Trudie takes the phone number back to Bessie and Frankie at Ms. Kwan's, where Bessie tells them that, I know that phone number. It's the phone number to Buffalo, where there's this horrible, evil, awful Italian crime family who is trying to come into Toronto, but they said they told me they were going to stay out of it. So who are they working with to come in here? And they scare me half to death. So now there's this new threat coming out of Buffalo. Meanwhile, Mary and Flo meet up at the pawn shop, where they get the name of the person who sold the watch to the pawn shop. But that's not all they get. Mary reveals that she has more information about Sean Murphy. Remember Sean Murphy? Sean Murphy's the guy who wanted to watch in the first place. He has a police record. He has a police record for attacking this Chinese businessman. Why did he attack the Chinese businessman? Apparently he is a very important Chinese businessman who had a daughter named Water Lily. So apparently Sean Murphy was just in love with the Chinese businessman's daughter. The Chinese businessman, as soon as he found out that Sean Murphy and she were in love, shipped the daughter back to China. Sean Murphy is heartbroken. That is why he's going after the watch so hard. It's not because he's in charge of everything and trying to get people out of Bessie run out of town and take over everything. No. That is the job of the Italian crime family and Charles Kanaski. They talk to a couple people at Muldoon's. They figure out that Kanaski's the guy. He is allied with the Italians, and he's the one who's trying to run Bessie out of town. So yes, Jessica had it right. Because of the mistrust sowed between Bessie and Frankie, they end up fighting and having guns drawn on each other to figure out who gets to take Kanaski in. Does Bessie get to kill Kanaski, or does Frankie get to take Kanaski and clear her name? They decide to play one hand of poker for it, and wouldn't you know, looks like Bessie's won with the full house, queens over tens, but it turns out Frankie's got aces over jacks. So Frankie wins, but there's enough trust between them where Bessie's like, don't you cross me or get in my way ever again. And Frankie's like, don't you ever get in my way ever again. And they're like, fine. And Bessie leaves, and Frankie gets Charles Kanaski. But never forget what we said at the beginning. Frankie is the daughter of a con man. Of course she knows how to deal cards. She totally set it up. It was all a front. She knew she was going to win. She did win. Kanaski goes back to jail. Or not back. Kanaski goes to jail. Detective Grayson visits Frankie and says, you just better keep your nose clean. And they have all sorts of awkward flirting. It was awkward flirting, right?
It was. It's very awkward.
Yeah. And then the ladies celebrate having each other and being a team as opposed to being on their own like Bessie. And they all drink and play cards at Ms. Kwan's. The end.
The end. Happy ending.
Happy ending. Happy winner ending.
Oh, I mean, thanks, but I also...
She says thanks, but meanwhile she is literally dancing around the room doing her victory dance.
But there was no, like, legitimate, illegitimate son storyline.
You're right. There was no illegitimate...
And that Muldoon guy, even though he was associated with Kanaski, he was...
Just take the win, Jessica.
Like...
Just take the win. Here, I'm giving you the win. Just take the win. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Fine. Take the win.
Take the win. I am less upset with you winning than I am with me changing my guess. Of course it was Kanaski. We knew, and frankly, my reasons for it being Kanaski, the fact that he was the only one who slapped her on the butt and was physically inappropriate. I was like, I should have known. I should have stuck with it. Oh well. You'll win some, you lose some. Some days it rains.
Yeah. And another thing that they put us off the scent with is that Sean Murphy was throwing a lot of money.
He was throwing
Frankie
a lot of money around. Like, he's this poor student. Where did he get all this money?
Yeah, well, so it turns out that the reason why he was doing that is because he wanted this watch because it was his last
connection to the woman he loved.
And he says that the businessman didn't approve of him because he wasn't Chinese, but also because he was a poet. And so he was never going to be a businessman. Right. And so this was a proof of this is that he was just throwing money at Frankie and Trudie to get back his memento of his lover, or I mean the person, his true love.
Yes. Lover in quotes, and the fact that this was his true love.
And so he wasn't dealing shrewdly as a businessman
at all,
in order to, because he was so emotional, which could have been. We didn't really pick up on that at all, but it's, in retrospect, it could have been a fun red herring.
Sure. Well, it was all fun red herrings. It's a fun show. It's like, despite the awkward flirting, and the awkward flirting, I have to say, has remained throughout all the episodes we've seen. Despite awkward flirting, it's a fun show.
Yes.
I like it. So,
yeah.
Are we ready to dive into the IMDb?
Yes.
Tell us what you got, Heard.
Okay, well, Lauren Lee Smith, who plays Frankie Drake, she is famous for being on CSI from 2008 to 2009. She was also on The L Word, and she was also on The Listener, and she was in Shape of Water.
She was in Shape of Water?
Yeah. I don't remember her role. The Listener is a TV show that comes up in a lot of this cast and crew and the
Is it a Canadian show?
Yeah, it's a Canadian show. It's a young paramedic discovers he has telepathic powers.
You told me about. I think we talked about this last week for Haven.
Yes. Oh wait, is it?
No, we totally did.
Oh,
we totally did.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now another show that I'm fairly certain we did not mention when we were doing Haven, because this will come up in almost everybody's.
Sure.
In this show, they did a show called Hudson and Rex.
What?
Which
what even is Hudson and Rex?
A policeman who partners with a dog, a German Shepherd that he likes because they don't talk back. So maybe he's a little curmudgeonly. And I can just imagine, like, everybody, I mean, it's kind of like, it seems like it's like this group's Law and Order. You know, everybody's got an episode. But I also feel like, when they all start doing some real serious stuff, they just gotta throw in a Hudson and Rex every once in a while.
Just go somewhere, have a little fun. Like when you're on set, you can pet the dog. It's great. It's a very low-key, low-stress show.
Yeah. So Chantal Riley plays Trudie Clark. And she has been super busy since 2016.
I will have to say, so she is she a Broadway actress?
Yes. So you remember this from the last time.
Well, no, I do. I remember that she was a Broadway actress, but I am a little disappointed that they had her in a nightclub working, and they like.
Well, it wasn't a nightclub. It was just a casino. There was no entertainment. This is like classic casino.
Sure. Yes, classic casino. But for a long time,
Steve Wynn.
For a long time, every single episode, they were finding a way to let her sing.
Yeah, it's true.
So she didn't get to sing this episode. I'm a little bummed.
Yeah. So she started in 2011. She made her stage debut in a German production of The Lion King. And then she went on the next year to play Nala, this same role, on Broadway in The Lion King.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And so she's Jamaican-Canadian. And she also did, in 2016, she kind of had a big breakout. She was in Race, which is a film about Jesse Owens, about his wins. And then
4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympics.
Yeah.
delivering the smackdown to Adolf Hitler, and Jesse Owens is like, I'm faster than all y'all, ha ha.
She also has been doing the Assassin's Creed video games, and that was in 2017 is when that started. Then in 2018, she was in Winona Earp, and in 2019, she was in Pearson, which is a show that stars Gina Torres. And then she did an episode of Suits in 2018, and then she did Hudson and Rex, and she made this show started in 2017.
She's been working nonstop.
Nonstop. And these are not like one episode things.
Yeah, no,
these are all like 9 episodes of everything or
that is
more.
fantastic.
So she's doing a ton of work.
How is she standing? How is she not like exhausted all the time?
Yeah, so much work.
She needed that Hudson and Rex little kind of just, like, I'm just going to sit here and you lick my face, dog. I just need that kind of loving right now.
Yeah. Rebecca Lilliard, who plays Mary Shaw, is...
Mary Shaw is she's the one who's the morality
police.
Person, yes.
She is famous as the second lead on Alias Grace, the Margaret Atwood show.
We
have not watched that.
I haven't watched it.
Sharon Matthews, who plays Flo Chakowitz, who is not the coroner, but the
medical assistant, whomever, yeah.
She is known for being in Mean Girls, Hairspray.
She was in Mean Girls?
Yeah, and she was also in Hairspray, and she is a very prolific cabaret artist. Anthony Lemke, who plays Detective Grayson, who is a dead ringer for a younger Fred Willard.
Oh my God, totally.
But still not young because he's kind of old, and he actually looks older than Frankie Drake, and it's kind of a little disconcerting to me. I mean, like, a lot older. Anyway, he does a lot of work on thriller films and TV shows, and he was also on The Listener with Lauren Lee Smith. And he is also known for his role as 3 on the sci-fi series Dark Matter and in the film Queen of Swords. And he went to law school after studying acting. After law school. And then he went back to acting. And
sure.
Has his whole career. Okay. Grace Lynn Chung, who plays Wendy Kwan. The owner of the establishment Kwan's Tea House.
Kwan's Tea House.
With its cold and hot tea. She has 75 credits.
Holy smokes.
She has and lots of awards and nominations for various roles in film and TV. Everything that I'm like, what is this show? Oh my God, I want to watch that. Like, all these fantastic descriptions. Okay, so starting with, she is a regular on so many shows and has, like I said, everything has a great elevator logline. So, Mary Kills People.
This is a great title to begin with.
Which is about an ER nurse who helps terminally ill people slip away on their own terms.
Oh my God, that's so more like Hudson and Rex kind of like lighthearted fare there. Wow.
Yeah, a little different. Rising Suns.
Which
is about a Chinese businessman who travels between China and Canada and is trying to build a life for his family in Canada while precariously, it seems like from the description, protecting China's assets. So he's living the whole kind of torn between two worlds, and he's a very rich and successful man, but maybe hiding a big secret.
Okay.
And she is also on a show called The Stranded, which is after a tsunami, students at a private school are stranded at their school on an island and realize they must fend for themselves because no one is coming for them.
Oh my God, I love it.
So it's sort of like a Lord of the Flies.
Sort of like Lord of the Flies meets Lost meets...
Yeah, and she's a professor there. She was in a short film where she received a Best Actress award, I think, and then as well as the film itself got an award called The Remnant, and it's about... It's about con artists who pose as paranormal investigators to steal from a wealthy old lady and then unleash a malevolent spirit.
Okay, we saw the unleashing happen. We saw the unleashing coming.
You did?
Oh yeah, that's a great trope. That is a great, like, the two, I mean, it
sounded like the lady killers to me.
Yeah.
But then it took another turn.
That's absolutely it. Yes, it's all like all that. It sounds great. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and then she was also on a show, again, regular, like lots of episodes, 23 episodes, called Insecurity. It's about a secret agent and her team of insecure spies.
Okay. Okay, you got me with insecure spies.
She
I
plays
love that.
opposite Natalie Lisinka, who played Ainsley on Orphan Black. She was also on Clarice. She was also on Star Trek Discovery. She was also a number of episodes of Designated Survivor, Odd Squad, 12 Monkeys, The Listener, of course, Being Erica, and then, drum roll, favorite thing of all time.
Oh, no.
She was on Slings and Arrows, playing
what?
Emily Lou, a.k.a. Mommy the intern, who then becomes, like, full-time, right?
Oh my god, I don't know. I think Momley's only the 3rd season, so I'm not sure what happens with Momley. That is fantastic. Oh my god, Ms. Kwan is Momley from Slings and Arrows.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
I do too. She has had such an amazing career, and I'm so happy because I remember watching that show and being like,
Momley is amazing.
That woman is going to go somewhere, and I can't wait to watch her on screen, like, every week, you know?
Yes. That was a tough season. That was the King Lear season. That was a tough season, but she was hilarious, and she committed to that bit. Like, she was just that, that's so great.
Yes.
Oh, yay. Well, I'm glad we got to see her again.
Yeah. So the creators of the show are Carol Hay, Michelle Ricci, and then also Cal Coons is credited. He created Murdoch Mysteries, which Carol and Michelle wrote on, and he is the showrunner for the show, and they are executive producer writers rooms for the show. Carol also wrote on some other crime type shows, and she just done a lot of life of type things. Do you call that biography?
Sure, yeah, biopics
Biopics a little bit, that and murder things, of course. She did an interesting TV movie called, very Canadian. That's not what it's called. It's called Waking Up Wally, the Walter Gretzky story, in which the father of Wayne Gretzky has a stroke and wakes up with no memory of his famous son.
Was that true? Did that happen?
I don't know.
Okay.
Then
you Canadian listeners, let us know if that's true or not.
Yeah. Her first writing credit was in 1999 for the Sheldon Kennedy story about a hockey player abused by his coach.
Wow.
Then there is Michelle Ricci, like I said, also one of the creators. Her first credit was on IMDb was being a PA on Smallville.
Oh, wow.
She's also a writer on The Listener currently. And
we have got to watch The Listener.
I know.
This sounds like such a cheesy, awesome show.
Yeah. And, she was on The Listener, and she's currently a writer-producer on a show called Private Eyes, which stars Jason Priestley as a retired hockey player who teams up with a private eye named Angie Everett, played by Angie Sampson. 60 episodes of that show. Has not played one night in America, has it?
I don't know.
In
Jason
the US?
Priestley, he's 90210, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I thought he was dead. I know, it's Luke Perry. Rest in peace.
Perry, yeah.
I'm sorry. But yeah, 60 episodes of that. Currently still going. Also, Michelle Ricci's first credit on Smallville, not only was she a PA, but she was a hand double in 2 episodes. It was like, what 2 episodes need a hand double?
That's some second shooting happening. Being like, you just put your hands in there. We can't call her back, so we need hands. Go.
Yeah, maybe there's some
hand double. Oh my god, I want an IMDb hand double credit now. Let me please somebody figure out how I can get. I can put my hands under a camera. I can absolutely do that.
Yeah. This episode credits John Callahan as the writer on the screen credits. Yeah. IMDb lists him, of course, but then also Carrie Ferenc. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Ferencz.
Okay, sure.
Callahan also wrote and produced on Winona Earp, and now, of course, is on Hudson and Rex. Carrie Ferenc also has credits on Hudson and Rex. And she is a consulting producer. Interesting facts about her. It seems like she has a credit as a medical consultant on one episode of Vegas 911, and she was a researcher for many, many, many episodes of a show called Remedy, which seems kind of like a medical thing.
Yeah.
And she is currently a consulting producer on Hudson and Rex, and I just wonder if there's like lots of dog fights or some bloody things that happen, and she needs to like weigh in as a medical consultant.
This is what really happens when a dog bites you.
Yes, yeah. This and many of the Frankie Drake episodes are directed by Ruba. Sorry, I get dyslexic with my B's and D's sometimes. Ruba Nada. She is a world-renowned, critically acclaimed writer and director. She is of Arab descent, born and raised in Canada. She's directed over 20 films. A couple of them seem to be with Patricia Clarkson, and she is developing a piece with her right now. She's directed a ton of TV as well. Not really in like any particular genre. It's kind of all over the map. It's exciting. She's directed Valor. She's directed Hawaii Five-0, Taken, NCIS, Arrow, Roswell, Krypton, Lincoln Rhyme. And recently, she just directed some episodes for the Murdoch Mysteries, which, I mean, I guess that show's been going forever. Unfortunately, season 4 is the last season of Frankie Drake.
Aww.
But Murdoch Mysteries continues.
Murdoch Mysteries, chugging along.
Yeah. One of the producers on the show is Teresa M. Ho, and I just wanted to highlight her because she has over 20 years of experience in film as a producer in various other capacities. She just sold to the CBC a feature documentary, My Piece of the City, about the youth in Regent Parks. And she recently also, well, I mean, not so recently, but she worked on Anne with an E on Netflix, as
Which
well
is
as this
sweet.
show.
Yeah.
Maybe we do Hudson and Rex next. And just see everybody again.
Just see everybody all over again. It'll be great. It'll be like, oh yeah, there she is again. Oh.
Yeah. That's all I got.
That's fantastic.
Some fun stuff.
Woo! There you go. So we picked up another win. I'm so happy we picked up another win.
Are we like 1-1 now?
We are 1-1, or more accurately, we are both. This is episode 9. We are both 1-8. So yay! Oh well, it's still fun, right? We're not totally horrible guessers, right?
I think we are. But that's the point of mystery.
You're right. It is the point of mystery. You're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to know. That's what makes Sherlock Holmes so amazing. He knows because he's a freaking genius.
Yeah, but it still takes him, a couple pages to figure it out.
Sherlock Holmes also uses street urchins. I'm telling you, let's bring back the street urchin.
You're right. He does.
Let's not bring back the street urchin.
No.
The street urchins was actually a very bad thing. Let's just put them back to nice, profitable, moral work like chimney sweeping. Get back to that. Or coal mining. Get back in the mines.
Wait, no. Wait,
what? You don't want that either?
We don't want youth working.
Oh.
No, not being taken advantage of.
Oh,
go to school.
Go to school?
Maybe some proper apprenticeships for working for union laborers.
So you're saying unions hire 14-year-olds is what I'm hearing you say?
No, I mean they would no. No.
Unless they're child actors, in which case there are all sorts of laws and rules about keeping them safe. Our point is, don't bring back the street urchins.
No, please.
It's just a great word to say, like street urchin. It conjures up just such, you just want to picture Dick Van Dyke just tap dancing down the street, but that's not, no.
I know you say that, and that's what you picture. I just picture a weird fish bopping along on the street. A bouncy, weird thing that might be called a fish. Are they still called a fish?
Yes, I think they are. All right. With the bouncy fish, I'm Jacob.
I'm Jessica.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. Hey everybody, thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.
And now we want to hear from you.
Tell us your guesses, your scores,
your insider info, your favorite logic cop catches,
and your suggestions for what shows we should watch next.
Follow us and join the fun on Twitter and Facebook at Cluedunnit.
Or on Instagram at Cluedunnit Podcast.
Rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts to help get the word out.
Because watching TV is always better with friends.
There's a Frankie Drake Mysteries wiki.
Oh, are you on it?
Yes.
Okay, good. What does it say?
So, according to, you know what? I just want to give a shout out to Fandom Wikis if they want to sponsor us, because they are amazing, and I love all of the complete and utter nerds who just populate it all with all this information about shows everywhere. It is a godsend, and I love it.
Yes.